salesperson. My history is, though I came from the phones, I actually came from security. Do System Center. I do Forefront Technologies. I used to answer the phone. I did firewalls, ISO, networking engineer. So apparently somebody thought enough of me to send me out to sell. So, you know, guess it's working out so far. I've been in sales probably about 4 years, but I also do like most of the demos for all of our salespeople. So I'm like their support guy because just the way salespeople are sometimes. But we're here to talk about Windows 8 today. We've got an hour. If we need to go into some tangents, I'm pretty confident in speaking toward most Windows, Microsoft solutions. So if you feel like it's too tangential, then we can maybe hold it till after. I'll certainly be available to speak toward anything Microsoft after the Windows 8 conversation concludes. My plan is to, hopefully if you haven't already heard, Windows 8 will be available, generally available to everybody October 26th. So we're really ramped about that. We feel confident that we're going to do one of two things, and one is continue on the legacy of great Windows products, and two is we're going to compete better with somebody like iPad. You know, Microsoft is, I've heard comments, you know, either you love Windows, there are people that don't like Windows, there's people of all kinds, but at the end of the day, I've heard comments like, well, Windows 8 with their touched up, they're trying to copy iPad or, you know, something like that, and I go, well, they've got a huge market. They have a great product. I don't know if anybody would want in on that. Now, we would say we have a completely different solution. I plan on showing you the differences unique to Windows 8 and the literally hundreds of available tablets they're about to release on October 26th. We've had to actually begin to reprimand vendors because they're just chomping at the bit to deliver you devices. That's because they've been making them and they're ready to go. And when you go to stores on October 26th, you start seeing Lenovo, HP, Dell, Samsung, Vizio, Microsoft has Surface, all running Windows 8. You're going to know a little bit more about it at the end of the day, hopefully, if you don't already have some knowledge on it, and or maybe you're here just for specific questions focused on your businesses. Any questions before I begin? Once again, my name's Barry. All right, let's get into Windows 8. You'll see that most of our marketing is around flexible work styles. That's because of the overwhelming consumerization of IT that we've seen proliferating the entire environment. Whether you work for a bank, you work for a school system, you're at home, everybody's got better devices usually than you got at your work. I mean, we all buy the newest, hottest phone. I've had like 6 phones in 4 years at most, maybe earlier than that, but you know, our children, our wives, our husbands, they all have different devices when we come to work, and they're really cool and they want to be able to use them. They don't want to come to work and use this amazingly slow sometimes in your environments PCs that have been around because of budgets. Some people have super great machines at work, some people don't. And these devices are things they use every day. If you have an iPad, you bought an iPad, you want to check your Facebook, you want to do all the things you want to do on it. Well, how are we going to enable things just like that that are apps? And how are we going to compete in a market that has 1 million apps already in it? And what is going to be unique differentiators with Windows? I've got a device that I'm going to pass around after I do a couple PowerPoints. I'm not here to PowerPoint you to death. I don't think anybody in an IT organization that's in this meeting probably needs a lot of marketing. You already do IT business. And so with that, I'm just kind of stalling a little bit. People are coming in. The room's still in the back. And so as we let people continue to come in the room, these devices are going to be, like I said, readily available. We're just dying to get them out there to you because, frankly, iPad has just handed us our lunch for about 30 years now. And any Microsoft employee that did that probably just isn't being humble enough to say, hey, they had a great device. It kicked our butt in that area. We feel like we are a great enterprise. We feel like they're a great consumer company. But anybody who works in enterprise knows when they start bringing these consumer devices, you got to manage personal information. If you got to manage these devices, if you've got to somehow keep control over the personal information going out your doors, or if something happens, they steal it. Is that information gone? Is it accessible? accessible, do you have to report it? That's the really bad thing. When you have to report that your laptop was stolen, and they start questioning you over what was on that laptop. And you have to think, man, did I put those files on there or not? And you attest to the fact that you did or did not have data on there. Is it going to cause some kind of investigation? It may not be something that everybody in this room worries about. It might be just a couple of you worry about that, but that can be a situation that gains critical mass. So how do we solve that? So I'm going to move ahead. And as I was mentioning, we see this digital age coming about where every teenager from 13 up seems to have some kind of access to social media, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's just the internet. And so as those devices begin to come to school in mass droves, in fact, I would hesitate to think that schools these days are even, it used to be, I don't know, when I was younger, you couldn't even bring electronics to school, and now people are giving out iPads, and they have bring your laptops to school now. If you're a teenager and you're in the 11th or 12th grade, I can't imagine you doing work. I can't imagine you not bringing a laptop to school versus 500 pounds of books. So let's move on. I think we all understand what's happening in our environment. Nobody in here probably is oblivious to the fact that these devices are coming. But what's Microsoft going to do about it? I mean, yay, iPad's been out there. Everybody seems to be wanting one, have one. They're cool. They're great for consumption. If you want to browse the internet, you're sitting on an airplane, that's a great device. It really is. I'd be an idiot not to admit it. So, we have two devices, or two types of devices coming out October 26th. Y'all come on, find a seat. Let's go. This show's going to be great. Want to do tricks? I got cards in my pocket. There's a rabbit under this guy's chair. All right, here we go. So, how are we going to compete in that area while maintaining the critical mass on the enterprise, which Windows is known for? We've got server infrastructure. We've got applications that are built. Somebody said, well, how are you going to compete with iOS? They've got all these apps. And I go, do you realize there are more .NET developers in the world than everybody who owns an iPad? I mean, it's ridiculous how many .NET. We've already got 10,000 plus apps in our store that hasn't even been released yet. We got Windows 8 Phone coming out in October, maybe the beginning of November. When you put an application on your phone, it will work on your tablet. It will work on your Xbox. This ubiquitous design of your applications, whether they're x86 on a Windows Pro device or on the ones coming out of the App Store, they're developing the apps that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. If they're developing the App Store, they're going to work on anything they can get to the App Store. So unlike Apple, which once again, I love an iPad, you can't run, the iOS is different than the Mac OS. So hopefully we beat them to the punch with that. For once we beat them in one area earlier than others. Not too many we can claim to. But it'll run on everything. So let's get into the devices, particularly around RT. These are going to be the first devices you see. These are going to be devices that we feel like are going to readily approach and hopefully overtake the solution that iPad has already presented. I'm going to talk about that in several areas as to where hopefully you feel like and that we feel like are going to be mutually beneficial in the enterprise, because that's really where it matters. All right, so an RT device. Windows 8 is releasing on the 26th. I don't think we need more marketing on that. So the devices and experiences, Steve Ballmer's already said, and of course I believe him because, he's in charge, and he's usually pretty accurate when he's talking about what our company's going to do, that our company needs to totally transform itself. We have owned the enterprise in most aspects, from server to desktop, and the comments have been made that Microsoft's on its way out. We've grown stale. We're not relative. And so that kind of hurts a little bit, especially if you've been a Microsoft employee like me for over 10 years, or right at 10 years. So how do we become more relative? So when we look around the consumer edge in IT, the apps that are going, the devices everybody's using, that's why we went and started out with our build of the no compromise business tablet. You'll see that's really the RT device. RT is not an x86 device. For you guys who don't understand or don't already know what ARM devices are, it's basically just a different chip manufacturer that the iPad also uses that basically uses very little electricity. So it requires very little battery power. Well, that's why the applications are relatively unique in the fact that they're self-contained and they do more of a focus function. Usually you touch something and the app is not as sophisticated as like I don't know, even Word. Word's a pretty sophisticated document. When you begin looking at everything it does. When I show you, this is PowerPoint 2013 that was just made available internal to me. This is the RTM version, and it will soon release to the general availability of the public as well. So, what's been wrong with the devices that Microsoft has produced or their vendors have produced till now? Battery. I think that's the first thing everybody loves about an iPad. How long does it last? Secondly, the mobility of it. So as we begin to look at where we needed to look at how an iPad was making its way in, what was great about it, what was game-changing about it, the battery life, the availability, the mobility of it, things it was missing though, of course, we'll look at, we'll talk about no micro SD, USB limitations. Originally there were some Bluetooth availability issues. A couple other things I'll talk about. But right now we're really looking at the RT device, and this is actually a Pro device. This is an x86 device, so it will run any application you currently have today. It's running on on an i5 processor, and it'll, like I said, run any application today. I'll kind of just jump away from the, I'm only doing the second screen there, but as you can see, it's very friendly. If you haven't seen one of these in action yet, hopefully you'll at least get to a store or purchase one right now. You can actually order a Surface online. This is not a Surface. This is a Samsung Series 7. Like I said, Lenovo has an X2 coming out. It's already ready to ship. Dell has several devices. In fact, all your vendors will have at least 5 devices out the door with Windows 8 ready to go, which means they're going to be touchscreen available. And a lot of people say, well, I don't know if I want to touch everything. Do I have to retrain people? Where's my start button? I've heard that. How many people think the start button's on? Well, did you pick up an iPad and go, where's my start button? It's different. People say, well, end user training. Do you know what it's like when you have people working for you for 20 years and nothing's changed, and then you change something? It's terrible. The training sucks. I go, well, this is what you do. We got a super secret project. No one's going to be allowed to get up to 10 to 20 people. And we're going to be very exclusive about who we let in. I think everybody's going to want in on that. Probably. I'm just saying, as soon as you say there's something they can't have, they want it, and then you say, well, we don't have any training for it. But at the end of the day, if they can't figure out how to push the button, come up here, find more apps. I literally wanted to bring a video of my grandma, who's 92 years old, using it. How do I go between things? So I only got one thing open here, but if I come in and I swipe back, go to the start button, which you do have a start button, it's just swipe. Go to the apps, let's go back to our little presentation. I'll drag and drop back in here, it's very fluid. So the first thing I would tell you from what I just showed you is very similar in consumption. What I would tell you the difference is very different. The biggest difference is in creation of content. I did find that it was very difficult for me to create documents, create PowerPoint presentations, create much of anything on my iPad. I had an iPad. Some people say, oh, you're a sellout. No, this is crazy device. I got to get you one. I got money. Went and bought me an iPad. I still got my iPad. Unfortunately, my daughter's got more than me these days, but that's cool. I got this. So let's move on. Possibility. So direct access mentioned there, always on. IPsec tunnel. With Windows RT, we're going to release it so that it's got built-in Cisco, Juniper, Microsoft. There's like 5 VPN clients built in to the device. There, it'll be able to do direct access, which is always on encrypted VPN software. So if you have Windows 2008 RT server, you just go to whack server name, share name, and you're automatically in. There's no connect to VPN stuff. It's going to come with Office on it. So if you buy a Windows RT device, you're going to get Office on it. it's going to come with the Windows 8 store, which once again will work on your phone. I think you guys saw, I mean, a lot of people, for whatever reason, I understand, don't even know we have a phone. But when you look at the phone, you'll see that the apps look exactly the same. I know it's kind of hard to see people in the back of the room, but just make that smaller. And then if you haven't played Xbox yet, then you'll see that this is kind of what the Xbox screen looks like too. So everything that you build in our App Store will work on every device, Windows Phone 8, Windows 8, RT, or x86. The only difference is, once again, reiterating that Windows RT is an ARM-based system, so it'll run all the applications you build and that we're building and that everybody has, like Netflix, like Facebook, like Twitter, like, you know, those are the popular ones. Plus all the Office stuff on there, so be able to create that. And as you see later on, I'll let people look. I've got ways to convert this into a little tablet, so I come back from the meeting, I set it in here, I got my keyboard, mouse, supports Bluetooth, USB. That's pretty much the basics on the keyboard and mouse. I don't think I'd be too deep on that. But allowing for, once again, micro SD, USB, front and back camera, those are all things that are going to be Windows 8 hardware. Windows 8 hardware, just like Windows Phone, is locked down. It's not like it was in the old days where Lenovo's building one, HP's building one, but there are certain hardware specs that you have to qualify for, and that's resolution, display, a lot of things about USB and support for micro SD and things like that. End-to-end security, I think that's probably a big thing for everybody in the room today. Things that you won't be able to do with an iPad that you can do right now with Windows RT, Windows 8 devices, and Windows 7. I mean, secure boot with UEFI. You've got disk level encryption available. You can't do that. There's several things that, you know, around encryption and security, as well as manageability that we'll talk about hopefully a little more in some questions that we stirred up. But you will be able to manage Windows 8 mobile devices for the App Store that you can create, which is also a big differentiator. You are able to, as an entity, create your own application store and publish your own applications that only your employees can have access to. So it's not published out there for any person who has access to the iStore to download. This is your application. Your employees go to your store. These are secure applications. And when you terminate those users, you can even remotely wipe just the applications you put on. So if I happen to be using my iPad, I can sideload using our management software, which is called Intune. Intune integrates into System Center Configuration Manager. And what it does, it allows you to manage mobile devices using ActiveSync and on-premise devices and cloud devices. And I think that's the big thing, too, I haven't said yet is, you know, this is a cloud-based OS. When we get into a SkyDrive, we can do a SkyDrive Pro. It's built, this machine's built for the cloud. So if I want a PowerPoint presentation and I'm just here with my phone and I want to plug it in, and I happen to have a mini USB adapter to USB to HDMI, I could have just done my PowerPoint presentation on this projector because it actually has, for once, a HDMI input. And I would just go to the cloud and SkyDrive. But SkyDrive is what we talk about for personal use. I bury at my pictures, my stuff, some company stuff, which is being smacked on right now. But SkyDrive Pro is now going to be for the government, the business entity. So that same, if I'm a kid and you give them an iPad, you can't give them access, well, you can't do the web because we're allowed for, you know, HTML, browser-based version. But if you have a Windows RT device or a Windows 8 x86 device, you'll be able to implement SkyDrive Pro, which means I will have cloud-based access to applications and data. So an actual map of drive, I've got an H drive on my device, and it's got all my docs, and it's right there. And I can synchronize that, so if I leave that at home, then I can pull it up on somebody else's computer at school, and here's my homework. Everything we're kind of just touching on briefly, we'll be able to go into questions. I'm going to do Q&A. I'm not here to practice PowerPoint, so I'll be done. I've only got like 9 slides, really. I know this one's built out like 4 times, but most of them don't build out. Virtualization and management. So I touched on management just a little bit, but virtualization is going to be huge. We have application virtualization that's available, and it's going to be part of the native OS for RT, Windows 8. And what you'll be able to do is, if let's say you've got an investment in 100 iPads. Well, they can't have Word on there, or can they? So can we publish apps now that'll run as a virtual device using our virtualization with System Center 2012 and with Server 2012. So we can talk about that more later if people are interested in application virtualization, but that's going to be huge for the RT environment. People are saying, it's not an x86 device, so how can I run my legacy Windows applications on there? And I would say through application virtualization, it's going to be native to RT. So when they press on that icon that says, I don't know, I'm old school, so Rumba, 3270 emulator, because you guys have got a, that's probably not a good example for schools, but a good example for other government. I'm sure more than one person here still runs a big iron around here. So they're using a 3270 emulator. You can't install that on RT device. Launch Rumba, it opens up, it's running virtually. We got some stuff called Click to Run that's going to be available. We can go into that. But it's basically just virtualizing the application and not the operating system. I'm sure some people have questions around System Center management of devices. I actually have a private cloud in my bag, seriously. So I can boot it up and talk later on if need be about, I've got System Center 2012, I've got Server 2012, I've got a lot of VMs running on it. It's like the most powerful laptop on the planet, something like that. Come on. There you go. Don't laugh at the jokes, but laugh at my frustration. I love it. There we go. I just hate for people to be bored to death. I mean, that's like my #1 rule. You can like rob me, stab me, just don't bore me, right? My time is more valuable. All right, so you've seen me hold this up. I'm going to pass it around. Just do me a favor and don't look at my personal email. And if you're going to look through Outlook or something, because Outlook 2013 is on there, and I'll be brave enough to pass it around. I'll look to see if anybody starts laughing at my pictures or whatever. But this is really about you. I mean, that's what we're focused on, is that, you know, you work on this device every day. If somebody's going to take the time to give you a tablet, you're going to carry that tablet around. It's going to become a part of you, just like a phone. And that's why when we look at my personal data here, it's intermingled. So how do we, you know, you look at this, it's very personal to me. You'll see my pictures of people that I have Facebook. You see the tiles. I just got an email in my live account, which is not the same as my other account for Outlook. And then I can see somebody posted on Facebook, and I can see, I know this is hard to see, but you can see the tiles moving. This is really my life in display. So if I just got an email, oh, what was he saying? So I can just open up the email and read what's, okay, that's cool, I'm done with that. So I just throw it away and come back out and go back to the PowerPoint. You know, this is all real-time live. I'm sure I'll mess up something, and I know you're all just waiting for a blue screen. Believe it or not, this is the first presentation I've done with the device and using the dongle. So I've been sitting here going, please don't fall out. Because, I don't know, so far so good. All right, so I have a funny picture too from a colleague. They got a picture, and if I have time, I'll go back and show it. It's got a picture of this really bright, nice screen. It goes, we're talking about this is live live tiles is what we call it. And then so they take a picture of, they snap a shot of iPad, you know, it's kind of dark and gray. Like, so if this is live, what is this? And it's just leave the question answer. And I know, I've given Apple a lot of props, so I got to be able to throw little zingers too, because, you know, I bought one, I can do it. I paid $500, so I can tell it to them. All right, let's move on. So what's important about RT devices? Once again, battery life. And you know what? It's going to be hard to penetrate some markets. You know, you guys have bought 100 iPads, but you've probably already been struggling with how to manage them, or you've just given up, or you've talked to the CIO, or you said, I can't control this, you know, and they understand it, but it's still cool, we're going to have them, so the CIO, you're not. That's how it works. But time goes by, a year will go by. If we don't get you now, hopefully we'll get you in a year, because you'll be able to explain to them. I can manage this with the same infrastructure if you're using System Center. If you're using any kind of management software, once again, this is Windows. Every partner we have is ravenous to build applications. Just like when you saw when the iPad released, it had 1,000 apps, it had 2,000 apps, it had 3,000 apps. Trust me, there are a lot of people out there with software ready to go. We don't have 10,000 apps in our store already. I have like 1,400 useless games I can play on this thing right now. And and we haven't even released it yet. So that's what 30% of Microsoft, I guess, is doing right now with this game. I was a little... Anyway. So what else is important about this? We've already talked about the common code. That is really important. It really is. To be able to run your x86 apps on that RT device via virtualization, we knew was going to be important. So we made that out-of-the-box experience. Maybe you just buy one and you test it and make sure we're telling the truth. I think that, I'm from North Carolina. I live in Charlotte. We've always got to humble ourselves and say, hey, if you had a good experience with Microsoft, that's great. We love you. If you've had a bad experience, that's also great. We want to earn your business. Buy just one. Test it out. If it doesn't work, buy another iPad. But I'm confident it's going to work, just like I said it's going to work, because I'm using the x86. I'm actually getting my RT device next week. And you can pre-order them now, by the way, online at MicrosoftStore.com. Right, anyway, you actually can. Ready for business. So Office 15 pre-installed. So I'm demonstrating it now. You see I got my presenter view here, and then what you're actually seeing is over here. I'm not going to sell you Office. If you use an Office today, I would just tell you that the great things about it right now is everything's touch enabled. So if I were to launch Outlook, and I will in just a few minutes to show you just what it looks like. But, I touch on email, I hit reply, it just drops down a little bit, I reply right in, hit send, there's no more windows. No more windows in Windows. Weird. But it's all built into it. It's very simple. It's more relevant. I think it works great for touch. That's one thing you see me doing. I have a mouse and keyboard down here today, but I expect to be able to do all my work with touch and still be able to create content. If I need to type something, when we get into that, I'll show you the keyboard if you want to see how responsive the keyboard is. So we can talk more about anything we need to about Windows 8 after the Windows 8 session is over. Expectations. Well, I would say 80% of people who love Windows are expecting something great. 20% of people who love Windows may be expecting something average. 80% of people that don't like Windows are expecting a flop, and 20% of people who don't like Windows are still expecting something good. So I would expect, before I leave here today, that I just leave with you the desire to want to test it out, because people have said it's so different. And I think to you, man, iPad did not grow that fast because it was so average. Did anybody buy an iPad and go, this is so different, take it back? No? Okay. Please don't bring that argument to me. I mean, really? It's different. Haven't y'all been screaming for something different? Give you something different. Start complaining. That's different. Gosh. You probably weren't going to buy anything anyway then. All right. Circus is opening up. Sorry. I'd say we keep marketing. I mean, I won't throw it out in questions here in just a minute. Like I said, I only have about 9 slides. Let's look if there's anything I missed. So really focus on the enterprise. I mean, Windows 8 Consumer and Windows 8 Enterprise are really going to have some unique focuses. Consumer is all about the live tiles, all the cool stuff being right there at you, all the apps. Obviously, we're not going to come out the gate with every app that iOS has out there simply because we haven't been around. But I'll guarantee you that there's a .NET developer at every job. Everybody wants some street cred. Everybody's going to build their own app. Fidelity's going to do it. Bank of America's going to do it. Well, we've already got those. But I'm sure there's many that we don't have. And I will guarantee you that there's an app that you want that it won't be very long, because everybody, every shop, every customer has some level of .NET. Yeah, they got some Java, they got some HTML5, they got all kinds of things out there that are different than maybe what apps are built in for iOS. But believe me, iOS people have been waiting to build these too. Same developers who build iOS, usually built for Android, and that's because it was available SDK. Our SDK is out there and available, and I guarantee you, if you're a developer, you make money off developing. So if you've already built something for iOS and you made $1 on it, I want another $1. Believe it. That's why we're confident that the market will make a winner. So deployment. So if you're currently deploying Windows 7, I don't expect that you will have much trouble deploying Windows 8. Once again, deployment of Windows 8 is faster. It's pretty, the hardware these devices will have in particular, a lot of people are thinking, well, we have no budget. We're not going to get these little full tablets. So why am I going to put Windows 8 on my, what did Will Smith say? This is the old and busted, this is the new hotness. If I'm going to have to stick with old and busted for a while, then what is Windows 8 going to do for me? And in a lot of scenarios, that's a tough question I'm going to answer as a salesperson. And I look at you and I go, well, are you doing any development today? If you are developing for tomorrow, then why not have an operating system on there that can take utilization of the new apps? And I've got a lot of business apps on here. I got healthcare. I got a lot of things that I can show you that are business-based applications if we need to get into examples of business applications. But at the same time, if you're doing any development now today, and you feel like you're going to be getting new hardware, then it won't be a waste, because whatever you develop today for application store will be on this device, on that OS, on the old hardware that you refresh with the software. I got some other things I can talk to you about if I need to try and sell you more for old hardware, because it is a tough sell. Why upgrade my operating system if XP is working just fine? And that's pretty much it for the marketing or for the sales. I really want to open up for questions. I'm sure we're not going to have a shortage of questions. Who's first? All right. I'll go in order. I got 1, 2, and 3. All right.
So you first?
Yeah, you first.
All right. So, Microsoft has tried to do a tablet solution before.
Terrible.
And the problem they had was you had an operating system that was geared towards a mouse and control. And it seems like this is sort of the flip side of that. Now you've got a finger-friendly OS. How do you sell that as a laptop, desktop-friendly?
Well, so as I stand here with this interface right here, one touch of a button, I'm sitting here at PowerPoint. Let me shut that down. All right, so if I'm going to work at a desktop, then I would do the same things from before, right? I would say, just 1 second here. Close that down. All right. I would say that you got a desktop on here, because the touch stuff is really meant for the tablets, right? That's true. This is not really meant. Well, so if you go out to Microsoft Store online, you'll see a lot of these. I've got a 27-inch touchscreen. That wasn't cheap. Yeah, well, that doesn't, but the touchscreens are more like just right there at you, right? They're, everybody's gone to an ATM, a kiosk. It is kind of intuitive, but it is different. But at the same time, you kind of want to touch stuff, when you're a kid. We kind of actually were taught to use a mouse. But, touching it, I really didn't like it at first either, to be honest. Is that recording? I didn't like it at first either. I've been using Windows for like 10 years, and I was like, what are they thinking? Sitting doing it.
Turn the camera off.
But then I bought a touch device that was a big PC, and I actually started touching it more. But the truth is, we didn't eliminate that. That's only extra. You didn't lose anything else. You go right to your desktop. You can use your mouse and keyboard. You can still. All we did was add that value. We didn't subtract anything from it. So I guess my answer would be, nothing's changed. We added something, but if you don't like the start screen, then just desktop. Do all your thing.
Can you word it in a way where
Yes. Yes, that's actually kind of new. So I've actually kind of had to get on some people. They were trying to tell me that. So like our vendors are pretty much telling us that we kind of had a prerequisite that said, if you're going to build a machine, worry about by the way, let me also tell you that this is not Windows 8 hardware. This is Windows 7 hardware. So I'm going to tell you something else in just a minute. If you're going to build a machine, we're not going to give you the start button. Because once again, I showed you that the whole screen's a start button, and then if you need to get more apps, you just raise it up, you got all your apps there. But the difference in that is that so Samsung just announced they were going to put a start, they were building their own, called Snappy or something like that. But the reality is, everything can be snapped to your your desktop. Everything can be snapped to your taskbar. Everything can be done exactly like before. And whether it's a false to that or you have to click one button to get to that, I don't see that as a big enough reason to go to something else. Obviously, as a security person, that's what I always tell people. It's like, we need a solution that has this one more feature because I need to build another new solution that gives another person administrative rights to something. I found when I work with banks and I work with all kinds of government agencies, the biggest problem is not they couldn't manage their environment. The biggest problem was they had 25 solutions to manage different things, and they end up having people, 50 people with administrative privilege to many different systems. And it was more the footprint of security, not the deal. So we're going to get to another question here, but I just want to kind of show you how this starts out. So this is me logging in for the first time.
Can you put it on the screen?
Yeah. I can recognize that I haven't logged in. I don't know if it'll project. So here it is. I'm not sure if it's going to project right away without me having logged in and said to project, but hopefully it will, but I can't guarantee that. I may have to log in first. Is it doing it? Well, I'll probably have to log in first and then go, the little Windows P or whatever to print it out. But when I first log in, I'm using actually a digital certificate here, so I'm just going to type in a PIN, and I don't want everybody to see that, but no, I think, see, it went dark. See, I'm smart as technology. It went dark, so you couldn't see what I'm typing. All right. If everybody just buys today, I can have that car. Actually, I don't make any money off of it. So, that actually was in it for a second there, didn't it? Let's see if it comes back up, or if I have to share it out. All right, let's just share it out. Okay, so that's not Windows 8, that's the projector. All right, so it's actually extended. We drag. You see how everything's at the bottom down there, so that's where I've snapped in something? Well, first of all, I just booted in, and what do you see? It's at the desktop, it's not the start button. So the answer is yes, you can do it because you just did. So let's go to the next question, and I'll come back to you.
One of the strengths of the iPad, and we adopted this as a secondary device, and we're looking at the Microsoft tablet. One of the strengths was the apps, because in the App Store and Apple, low cost, lots of applications. You talk to what is Microsoft doing in their app store to compete with the 300 or so thousand iPad apps. Because that's one of the strengths of the iPad is the apps.
Sure. So as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, the strength is really going to be the amount of developers we have. We have a lot of apps in there right now, but what we really see in the enterprise is people building their own apps. Like, so if you're Bank of America or you're government aid, you build your own apps. And if you published your own apps out to the iStore, I'd probably be a little leery of that, but I don't know. Have you guys put your own apps out in the iStore?
Well, we're looking at that.
Yeah.
Getting out, my Outlook was a license with.
I would say there's probably a lot of security reasons, probably the security guy why we're talking about not doing that. But the truth is we've given you, as an enterprise, availability to have your own app store. So let me figure out, I need to share this this side out because right now it's only doing presenter mode. Believe it or not, like I said, out. I have, like I said, the first time I've used this tablet. All right. And I'm not using the mouse. Does it work? second. I think I had to hit okay instead of just go. So, applications. The fact that it's going to take some time to build some apps is one thing, but we do give you an app store, and we give you an enterprise application store, which means you can publish your own apps to just a separate screen, duplicate. Thank you. All right. It'd be helpful if I do. Great. There we go. Now we're all seeing the screen. All right, so here's our store. If I go out to the store, very easy. You're going to get to see all the apps that are out there, but the big difference is you can now publish your own apps and nobody else can see them, which obscurity for security is not really what's going on here. It's actual, you have to be an authenticated user, and you have to know your link to get to your enterprise store, which by default only gives that application first and foremost to your employees, so nobody else can download that. So everything's full and rich with this store. You can come in, you can search. I can do show me all things. So let's just go to, here's the top 3 ones. And you'll see it's very much just like anything else. So I can come in here and choose any one of them. Just download it, block tile, I don't care. Being able to read what it is, install, and this is how you do it for a consumer. Now, how do you do this for a corporation? Here comes the money. Here. Welcome. You got to develop your app somehow, whether you put it in the iStore or your own store. It's only meant for security. You still have to develop that. And so you got .NET developers, which are, I think, more available. Corporate apps. Bam. So this is Microsoft corporate apps. Me coming out to my corporate apps. Let's just look at all my apps. And this is what it would be like for a government institution. Let me come out and look at my apps that you guys have for your store. This is Microsoft internal applications right here. Nobody else can get to these but my employees. So I've got Clarify, I've got things, this is like a security software that we use for logging tickets, or we used to, got POS. I've got all kinds of stuff out here that I can put through this application store. So that's the difference. You have a corporate or a private application store securely onto yourself. And then, let's get out of there and go back to the start of the video.
Will we house that store locally, or is that something Microsoft does?
That's a great question, because since this is a cloud-built OS, which means we said all the stuff it takes to get there, we just built it in native. You have 2 choices. You can host this on-site, because these are all things you can build, or you can host them in what's called Windows Azure. And so what that's going to provide you the availability to do is you can then worry about who your identity provider is. Am I going to force them to use Kerberos or some kind of authentication mechanism like a store that I have? I don't care if it's a flat file, to authenticate against whatever. Or can I let them use something like a Facebook or a Google ID or whatever federated resource you want to use? Once again, I find that to be a very scarce thing if you have employees who want them coming back to their provider and you control. But we did put in that availability for you to use federated providers like Facebook. If it's federated, it's federated. Who was next? Back there. I think he was next. You're next, Chris.
You mentioned some native support for virtual environments.
Yes.
What different virtual environments are you looking to have support for?
So when I said a virtual environment, I was specifically talking about what you could virtualize on the OS.
Is that just Hyper-V or?
Well, no, this is just the operating system. So the virtual would be the virtual application. So if I don't have let's say I don't have Adobe on here, and I've locked it down because this happens to be a corporate asset, and you can't install anything. But if I come out here, I can click on my corporate app, or I can install apps. But I can also do what's called app feed, which just means it'll have a look and feel like the icon that is at your work desk, or this happens to be your own machine.
But you don't.
It actually needs the internet to go back and run that application because it's not loaded locally.
Right, but you're not having any native support for like Zap app.
Oh, I wouldn't say that would be true. That's Citrix's management stuff, right? Oh, yeah. I can't 100% say, actually I can, because I have a deck on that. I'll look through after this. But I know, based on System Center 2012, that we we are supporting ZenApp right now. So with System Center 2012, we do support ZenApp virtualization as an integrated part. And I would really talk more to Citrix because, you know, I don't know as much about Citrix products, but I do know we are supporting Citrix. They're a primary partner of us. They don't make a dollar unless we make a dollar. Everything they do is Windows-based. So we love our partner Citrix. I know we're not cutting them out at all in any fashion.
The Windows 8 receiver is out.
Is it?
Yeah, the Citrix has published the Windows 8 receiver, so it's just like you know it was in app now. I was going to ask about the other app. You know, so I went out to the store. You got some apps out there. I download them, install them, just like I do with an iPad or whatever.
Absolutely.
On an ARM type device, you know, obviously I can't run x86, so I got to have some kind of. Is that AppV that packages those?
That is. That's what it is. AppV.
And then those are kind of published to me from an AppV somewhere out in Azure or my own place.
That's correct.
They don't actually come down and then run virtualized on the device.
Right.
They still have to be streamed. They got to have connectivity.
Yeah, that does cause me stream.
Okay.
Absolutely. And they'll have virtualization built into it. Actually, this gentleman was next, and I'll get you next.
Two quick questions. Can you have multiple users?
Absolutely. It's Windows.
Okay, good. And the apps in the App Store, are they vetted out sort of like Apple does, or is it like a free-for-all? You guys
Are
scan for
definitely vetted
malware?
out in our App Store, and we're not going to vet your apps if it's a private enterprise store, unless you pay us and give us money, we'll do anything. Look, I'll jump. Is that answer the question? Okay. But yes, we definitely serious about security, and I don't know anybody who goes, "Oh, we're not serious about security." But we are very serious about our security in our App Store because, you know, we learn lessons from other people who have App Stores. Yeah. Good to learn. Yes, sir.
Two questions. When's their general release date for the Windows 8 Pro tablets?
There is not. It is widely speculated that it's going to be right in the December timeframe because we're still on sale for Christmas, right? But I cannot give you a GA for that. I'm sorry. I wish I could. I really wanted.
By the end of the year, you're saying probably.
That's correct. I am able to say that I was told the man that you know, we're going to have them out at the end of the year at the latest because we're trying to sell these. Obviously, we're trying to break the market, right? Christmas is the biggest spending time.
And then that has, I mean, the RT has a micro HDMI output for video.
Yes.
Why does the Pro have a micro display port? Why is there a switch? You know?
I don't know. I can't tell you why it's different, to be honest. I can ask that question. I was kind of wondering that myself, but then it probably has something to do with power consumption and some things that design engineers probably know. I doubt it's software based. It probably has something to do with keeping weight down and all the things, you know, so we don't have to add a little rim around it so when you hold it, it doesn't get to the internet or something. Hang it. Was that one? Are you done?
I'm looking forward to using that.
Oh.
Get the Pro to replace my desktop. I have some software that runs our sound software accounts.
We have so many different styles. We have ones that have keyboards that slide out, that reattach, that we got one called the Yoga that'll flip all the way back, and I love the new Surface. It's got our own technology with the screen, the cover of the screen flips over to the keyboard. Has everybody seen the Surface? Oh my goodness, thank goodness for internet. It might help me out right now. Another question, somebody just blurt something out while I'm going to the internet here.
Tell us about the battery. How long does a fully charged battery last? What's the life of the battery? Is it consumer replacement?
So, unfortunately, that's going to be up to every different vendor. For Surface, I don't believe it's consumer replaceable, but I could be wrong. I'll look that up as we talk. Well, I'm showing this actually, but I will check that out and send out an email to the host of this. Pre-order now. Where's the video?
Is there a true docking station for these, or
There
you
is.
just plug into the side?
So here's our Surface, but once again, Lenovo's making one, HP, so they all will have, so if you, Windows 8 is not just a tablet, by the way, you know, there are going to be a lot of laptops that are going to be touch-based, but you're thinking, if you got a keyboard, why would you touch? I thought the same thing, then I started using a touch-based machine, and it actually kind of made sense for different apps, depending on what you're trying to do. It's here. $4.99. So the keyboards clip on, clip off, magnetic, bam. We are going to lose money on service just like Xbox in the beginning. These are probably $1,500 devices we're going to sell at $4.99. I mean, we want to just make our name hot again. To be honest, we're willing to spend money to make money because we know that we've lost traction in certain areas. To be honest, and we're trying to get it back. We've always appreciated the fact that we were a rich company at one point. We still are, but at the same time, we have to humble ourselves and go, you know, what are we going to do about it? And the Surface is really, we feel like we'll be the preeminent one of these laptops. Our Lenovo, HP, Dell, all our partners are making great devices. They're making 20 or 30 different kinds. All of them, not everybody's going to want a tablet. People are going to want keyboards. People are going to want snapping keyboards. People are okay with the keyboard being like that. So, and for your teenagers, you can even change it so it's like texting. How can a 9-year-old type that? I don't understand. Get your keyboard going, man. And we included emoticons because that's good. Dude, we've hired so many people that are just like 20 years old, and I get so many smiley faces in email, like LOLs. I'm like, you know, you're typing an email, it's not a text. Just old.
Talking about legacy apps, I think everybody can attest to the problems of going from XP to 7 with a lot of our applications. I know we've got a ton of apps that have to run in XP mode. The virtualization, the app virtualization we were talking about, is that essentially replacing XP mode, or is XP mode still going to be an option?
So, no, they're not. Their XP mode was basically a virtual machine running on the box.
Right.
So, application virtualization, they found much lower on resources, especially for an RT device. No need to virtualize the whole machine because our application virtualization is so much more superior now than, and we have something called click to run. So the gentleman asked about, is it run virtualized? So what I would tell you is, it's run virtualized, but it doesn't require streaming unless the app needs real-time updates. Because you can, when you download the app, it'll run virtually without streaming. It actually, you click to run is a completely different application virtualization where the app opens up on there, and then if you cut off the internet access, you can still work until it actually needs to go back to the internet. So you don't have to keep continuously streaming unless the application is, you know, if it needs internet feeds to work, or if there's something about the size of the app, maybe you don't want to actually push down a huge app on somebody's device.
Well, and security is an issue too, but I mean, are you guys anticipating the same problem going from 7 to 8? Because I know that the hardware specs are basically the same for 7 to 8.
No, but the operating system's completely, yeah, I don't expect that. I've seen tons of demos with application virtualization, and that reminds me, I need to talk about Windows to Go too. Does everybody know what Windows to Go is? Oh, this is great, and I'll let my USB. So USB stick, plug it into any machine here. I should have brought one with me. Well, I can still go get one because somebody else gets to speak it free, right? You can bring in a stick, and no matter whose machine you're on, you've got USB port, plug it in, reboot the machine, it's running Windows. It's cloud connected. It's got a VPN. It's your operating system. Pull the stick out, you're done. Any piece of hardware, you got Windows 8 on it. So if I'm going from hospital to hospital, from school to school, thumb drive. Boot. Email.
Changes
all my
persist.
apps.
Persist. I go to the hospital and generate some content, and I go to the next hospital, and what I did is still there.
That's correct,
My
because it's
Windows
all cloud connected.
Right.
Same screensaver when I boot it. It's going to have my car on it. It's going to have, you know, my tiles. It's going to look like my screen. And then I take that sucker out, and I'm gone. There's no trace. It's DOD compliant. No trace I was ever on that machine. You unplug it. You got 30 seconds to plug it back in, or it'll stop working. So you plug it in. It's actually running real time in RAM. You unplug it. You try and do something that doesn't work, and then all of a sudden it goes, "Hey, you didn't plug this back in. Goodbye." Reboots. So we're blue screens. Windows to Go, you got to really see that. That's a game changer. Nobody has that.
Can that be managed by System Center?
Absolutely. The Windows to Go device, yep. As soon as I plug it in, boot it up, IP address, you're using direct access, I'm pushing management things all the way back there down on the user tunnel versus the computer tunnel. Or if you connect via VPN because you're not using direct access, but I don't know why you wouldn't at this point if you've got Windows 8 and Windows 7, that's great. You push back as soon as the VPN's in when you can get manageability to it. All right, let's go left to right. Here we go. Right to left.
You're talking about legacy apps not being able to port over to the ARM, but what about just native .NET apps? Are you going to have two versions of your code, one for an x86?
It has to be. No. If it's written for the App Store, then that will run on both machines because it's the App Store is the same code. It's just that your legacy x86 apps that weren't built for ARM chips. When you build it in the Windows 8 store, it's going to be built. The code base, the SDK for building in the App Store makes it run on ARM, makes it run on x86, makes it run on the Xbox processors.
What about
It's ubiquitous.
But what about like a .NET Core app that we might have right now? Is that?
If it's built for x86, it's probably not going to work. But I do know that the porting of those x86 apps, well, some apps have been relatively easy, some probably not so easy. I'm not a developer, but it's not going to work on an ARM chip if it wasn't built for ARM. I'm pretty confident in that.
Once the x86 chips come out later on in the year, are you pretty much expecting for concept 7 and x86 or 8 and x86?
Absolutely. Because if it's built for the App Store, it'll run on RT or the x86.
Windows to go, you were describing using a memory stick, you have to move a profile from place to place.
Right.
Is there any data? Is there anything on the memory stick besides data that tells what cloud connection stores your profile? So if you lose the stick, or if you have to log in when you don't have access to the stick, can you still connect to the cloud?
Oh yeah, because I can go to a browser and log into my cloud-based storage, right? Whether it's what we call SkyDrive Pro, which is meant for the enterprise, or SkyDrive. SkyDrive's consumer, SkyDrive Pro means you can have it in the cloud or on your premise, but it's your projection of where you're storing your data securely, so that if we terminate you, all your stuff's on here. Now that's all. I'm just coming in from a device at this point, making a connection via the cloud, so that the stick has nothing to do with access. As long as I authenticate and vary with my username and password, and whether I require 2-form factor is a different question. But as long as I authenticate it's buried, I'm saying, hey cloud, Barry needs something. Here you go, Barry, here's your stuff. No matter what device it's coming from, but we can tell that it's coming from device A versus device B, which has to do with our System Center device. We actually, with System Center, can say this is your primary device, your secondary device, and we can say based on the fact that it's your primary device, we're going to give you app 1 through 5, and this is your secondary device, we're going to give you app 1 and 2. So we do have the classification of device prioritization in System Center 2012. So that would be RT device, x86 device, and stick now.
So app V, I haven't heard of that before, but we use remote app. So if I'm on any Windows PC, I can access an application. It's basically builds it into a remote desktop.
That's correct.
App V, I mean, what kind of server and stuff will we need? Is there a product called App V that we load on the server?
There is. So that's part of the MDOT, Microsoft Desktop Optimization Pack. And let's see, so remote app is me going there, like RDP. Remote app is me going somewhere, and app V is me bringing app here. So just semantics really, but your
So
choice.
you're going to make the licensing process really easy, right?
That's because it's included with RT. Remote app is. To use app V, you don't. It won't cost you anything if you have MDOT, which is part of SA. So if you have SA for Windows,
Software sharing.
that's right. Then most likely you have MDOT, which means you probably just don't have it deployed if you're not using it today. Which nobody here owns any Microsoft that's not deployed, right?
And the piece of app V required to actually package the apps, though, that's a separate thing. If I've got this .NET
That's
Core,
correct. There's a server in that says I'm going to package my application and deliver it.
yeah, app V is analogous to Citrix package and profile type apps where it pushes that package down to the endpoint. So there is another piece of
The
technology.
legacy part of that was called, I'll remember what the name was. We bought a company like 5 years ago, and we called it application app V for the last 2 years. I'm trying to think of it. What was your question? device, I have this Windows device, companion, you're not going to need RDP cows to RDP, because if you have a companion device, which is what a tablet, you have a server or a desktop, one enterprise license gives you access to 4 companion devices with Windows 7 and 8 companion devices. So that means if you have NDOC, because that's what it takes to get SA and to have it, then you can connect. Now you don't have to pay for cows to connect to your iPad because you have NDOC, which is the part of the SA cow. It says, because if you're connecting back to your work using an iPad, using RDP of some sort, you're supposed to be paying for that. There's a cow license. So if you're not, I'm talking to you right now, but if you want it to be right, be licensed right, it'll be included. You can have your iPad, you can have your brand new tablet, so when you give away your iPad, as it gets older, the font moves over there. You still have 4-6 phones. Everything is all going to be covered as your enterprise backward connectivity. So it's basically saying if you have 100 users, you don't have to pay for 400 cows. You only have 100. It's basically really trying to make the user more extensible.
And on the RT, you mentioned something about easy end clients.
Right.
Cisco.
It'll be built in. So there was 4. I think it was on. If it wasn't on that PowerPoint, it's on another one I have where it said it's going to have built in Cisco, Juniper, of course, Microsoft's native VPN, and Cisco, Juniper. Somebody throw out some other VPN names. I'll just go, yeah, that was it.
Checkpoint. Checkpoint.
Didn't it get bought?
So this is the RT device, not the X86.
Oh, no. So the devices are going to cut you right. So this is the RT device. I don't know if the x86 will have, but I don't imagine that's going to be a difference because we're seeing, the reason we're talking about consumerization of IT for tablets and for these type of devices is because they're meant to travel, but they're always connected back. So we're trying to make always connected, always on more of a function of the machine, not something additive. Yes, sir.
Good question. Version of Windows 8 on the Pro tablet coming out, is that the same as the one we go out by the store on computer calls?
Absolutely. So the only differences are going to be that one's built, the RT's built for the ARM chip, and one, and so the availability to run older applications that are x86 built is going to be the primary difference. Everything else, you're going to have Office built onto it. You're going to be able to browse emails, install apps in the App Store. I mean, we're really trying to say the RT device is going to be a little cheaper. It's going to last longer. It's going to be more of an iPad compete. And when we look at why we're competing with iPad, one of our 3 focuses, one is manageability. How do I manage them? How do I allow people to create content? And that's by providing native Office products with it. And how do I connect back to work? I built in VPN stuff. And so we're just trying to compete in the battery life, the size, the cost, and we're trying to excel in the other things, manageability. And we're focused on the enterprise. We took the iPad, that's a great idea. That was awesome. Now, how do we make it work for business users? So they've been struggling with this consumer device. So that's what we feel like we did.
Looking forward to being able to use the print on tablet.
And expand it with the micro SD. A couple of little things that we think we are doing right.
We probably need to wrap up.
Yeah, was there another speaker? I mean, just come up and move me. I'm sorry.
I do want to announce that at 3:45, they're giving out all the prizes, gold prizes for the vendors. Vendors are shutting down at 3:45. If you guys want to go catch them for the last few minutes, make sure you got your business cards in there.
Free stuff.